Energy Executives is a special edition of Axpo's podcast Energy Voices. Regular episodes are in Swiss German and German. The following conversation is in English. Electricity should always be available, cheap, clean and local. At the same time, the protection of nature makes it difficult to build new energy infrastructures. We want to hear firsthand how Axpo's executives are navigating this complex environment. Today's guest is Henriette Wendt, the Chief Operating Officer of Axpo Group. In her role, she drives strategy, innovation and sustainability in key areas such as human resources, ethics and compliance, technology management, partnering and transformation. Henriette Wendt is talking to Karin Frey.
Henriette Wendt, that sounds like one heck of a complicated portfolio. If you had to explain to your mother what you do all day, what is your mission?
First and foremost, there's a lot of modernization involved in what I do. We're quite an old company, over 100 years, and we're sitting in an environment where everything is changing and our strategy is changing. So modernization of Axpo, in particular with regards to technology and people.
You come from Denmark. You've studied in Paris. You've worked for telecoms and the IT sector, respectively. You've come from Microsoft to Axpo. And just like CEO Christoph Brandt, you changed sectors as well. Is it because of the innovation, or why did you?
So I'm a curious person by nature, and I like a challenge. So some people, they plan their careers 10 years in advance, and I'm definitely not one of those. So when I see a great challenge working for great people, that's when I jump.
So what you said is basically there's the technical side that's changing. There's the people side that's changing, where you drive change as well. Let's talk about technology first. I mean, it's sort of clear, renewables, no doubt of a question. But where is Axpo going technically? Where do you drive innovation?
So, of course, we have many types of technology at Axpo. I'm focusing on the IT side. When I joined, my idea was to start and focusing on the digitalization. But what I saw was that we need to build the foundation first. So there was a foundation, but there were certain things that we needed to address. And we've been doing that over the last 3 years. First one is the cloud transition. So moving our service into the cloud. We have a cybersecurity topic that's really important for everyone. Is becoming more important, of course. And we need to address that. We need to focus on that. We need to make sure that our employees have the right tools, that they have the laptops and software that they can work with, and that we can support them when they're using it. And so we've been driving those topics over the last 3 years, as mentioned. And now we're starting to say, okay, what can we then do with data? Now that we have the basis, what will we do with data? And of course, also what can we do with AI?
I think critical infrastructure, electricity is critical. Isn't that dangerous if you move everything to a cloud?
Well, actually, it's a bit counterintuitive maybe, but the cloud can be much more safe than having your own servers under the desk.
How's that?
Because the large companies, the hyperscalers that run the data centers, they invest a lot in security. And so they have also very much up-to-date structures.
One of the things that is noticeable, Axpo is becoming a lot more internationally. I think you've got about 30 Axpo seats or companies outside of Switzerland. Why is that so important? I mean, you belong to the cantons. You could just as well stay here, right?
There's a number of reasons for that. One is that the business in Switzerland is declining because our hydropower is going back to the canton. So we will, over time, we will lose that. Of course, we're still building also renewable, but fundamentally that's going back to the cantons. And then, of course, we're phasing out nuclear. So relatively speaking, our Swiss business will become much smaller over time. At the same time, we're growing a lot internationally. We are building out renewables, that is solar and wind in other European countries, where sometimes it's actually easier to move forward with the permitting processes. And at the same time, we follow our customers in the trading business. So we help customers with their energy supply, and we do that also internationally. So we're growing a lot internationally as well.
And growing probably means you will need new people. Is it fair to say that Switzerland is facing a labor shortage, which is expected to worsen in the upcoming years, especially the MINT professions? And if yes, I mean, you want to recruit. How do you face that challenge?
So it is true. It's not just in Switzerland. It's in many countries. We see challenges in IT. We see also specific to CKW, the people who go and install solar panels on the roof is also a challenge for us. And interestingly, also in the nuclear power stations, we also have some challenges in recruiting because it's a very specific market and it's not very big.
You're saying you're recruiting in the nuclear field. Are you counting on politics to reverse the course and reopen to nuclear technologies?
No, that's actually not it. First of all, we see a wave of retirements coming. Our employees have been in the power plants for quite a long time. And it's a very small market. We have a number of projects that we need to think about, especially if we think about the fact that we may even prolong or continue the operations. We need to continue improving and maintaining our power stations at a high security level.
Sustainable recruiting would also mean things like diversity, inclusion, a culture of non-discrimination. Let's be honest. I mean, you are the first woman on the Energy Executive podcast. It's not really diverse, is it? Why is Axpo still so male-driven?
It has a lot of historical reasons. And I would say two things. The technology business or the technology area and the energy business are historically not areas where women have been very numerous. And of course, that generates a situation where we have a lot of men. That is, of course, changing. We do have women. We see more women, but it's, of course, a conscious effort that we make to create more diversity in the company.
So what would you tell a woman why it's interesting to work in this field?
I think it's interesting, not just for women, also for men. We have a fantastic situation right now. I mean, first of all, what we do is so important. We saw that during the energy crisis. We're right in the middle of a transition, and it's so important for everyone. The energy security of supply is fundamental. And we are in the middle of a transition where we see both externally with technology and geopolitics, and internally as well with the recruiting where we're growing and we're becoming more international. And of course, the sustainability topic. Who doesn't want to be in the middle of that?
But generally, I mean, if I think of Axpo, and I dare say from a public point of view, when people hear Axpo, they hear, oh, those are the nuclear guys. You know, how do you work on your image?
That is true. Unfortunately, a lot of people we talk to in the recruiting context, they don't necessarily know what we do and how international we are and all the exciting topics that we work on. And so we've spent a lot of time talking to the target groups that we recruit, but also doing more employer branding campaigns. We also participated in the certification of Great Place to Work, which is an independent international organization that helps us position ourselves as a company and help explain who we are.
So if you want to attract people, that would also mean, well, marketing is one thing you just mentioned, but that would also mean you'd have to have a good culture. And that's changing as well. Society wants change. The younger generations, they want part-time work. They want life-work balance, especially also women. Where is Axpo at that?
So we've been working on our culture for quite a long time. It was one of the first topics that landed on my desk when I joined. Clarifying our culture is important to help people understand what is expected of them. So we defined a strategy, which means what we do, and then we define how do we work together as culture? And with that, when I joined, we did quite a lot of work involving a lot of people. So we asked people first, how do they see the value or the culture at Axpo? Then we defined our values, and now we're focusing on how do we live these values.
So what is it that the employees want?
So one of the values is care about people, so that we open communication, we provide feedback, and that we put ourselves in each other's shoes. So empathy, really. And that's one of the topics where we have had most to do, and where we've been doing quite a lot of work to create the awareness in the organization and make people aware of the fact that it's really important.
So are the women joining?
We are making a lot of progress. Our aim is to have 30% women by 2030. So we still have some way to go. And where we see here is it's important that we have women across the organization in different functions, but also at all different levels to really gain the benefits of having the women and having the role models in the organization.
But the glass ceiling is still there, is it?
Well, I hope not. I see that as a challenge that we need to take up, and especially by promoting women in senior positions and showing that we really take it seriously. So we have, for example, a female nuclear power plant head coming in 2026. We've also hired other senior executives female senior executives. For example, our new head of procurement, the CFO of our trading business, and that shows that we take it seriously and show that we have role models in the organization.
There's probably also reasons for diversity, and it's not just, because it's got to be done, right?
No, it helps us develop, and it helps us drive innovation.
Let's talk about those technical innovations. Many hopes are pinned on that, especially when it comes to sustainability, to the renewables. How and where are you pushing technical innovation?
So we have a lot of different dimensions of technical development. I would say from a market perspective, we do what we call serious experimentation. There we look at batteries, for example. We look at hydrogen. We develop in the biogas area, and we develop that in the market. Then, of course, we also look at other types of technologies. We have a small group of people who do investments and partnering with startups. And there we partner with small companies who have new technologies, for example. We've looked at companies that have new battery technologies, for example.
But you're not producing them. You have them produce it.
Exactly. So we don't have research and development. We partner with companies that have technologies that we can leverage.
And you see what's coming. Coming. I mean,
exactly.
Especially batteries. That's going to be more and more important.
Exactly. So there's many different battery technologies out there. We've talked to companies that have solid state heat storage, for example, thanks to bricks. We look at other types.
How does that work?
So they actually have bricks. They heat up and take electricity and transform it into industrial heat. So when the electricity is cheap, they store it. They can store up to 6 hours, and then they can sell it to industry purposes as heat.
But bricks are heavy, so that's for the big stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's not for cars. But of course, there are other technologies. We've also we've invested in a small company that takes smart meter data and analyzes with the AI and different algorithms to understand patterns and help customers become more efficient and save energy. We use that by CKW, our daughter company in Lucerne. They have introduced what they call the energy tracker, where their customers can see how is the energy consumption going, and if something happens, they will be alerted. I don't know, you left the fridge open, or I don't know.
Does it work? Do people react to it?
Yes.
Because electricity you don't see normally. It becomes visible, and that makes it applicable.
Exactly. And this company is present in many different countries. So of course they have a huge basis for understanding patterns, and that's what they help us and help the customers at CKW understand. Okay, this is not normal. Here's somewhere where you need to react.
You mentioned AI just now. How important is it going to become, or where does it in fact actually work at Axpo?
It's probably going to affect more or less everywhere, but in very different ways. And we don't know yet what that means. We've applied AI in some areas. We're still in experimentation because the technology is moving so fast. So for us, it's experimentation, but we have a couple of areas where we have used, or we are using AI. We use it, for example, we send drones out to inspect and look at the status of our grid. And instead of having people driving out in their cars and climbing up and looking at what does it look like and then potentially repairing, we can send a drone and with AI can compare images of what it should look like to what it looks like. Another area we've done very interesting is when we have our run-of-river power stations in Switzerland, we need to allow the fish to pass. But that's for us not very good, because that means that the water also passes. So we try to create what we call a fish ladder and then create a door to allow the fish to go in and out when they're there, and then close it when they're not there. And in order to do that, we had quite a lot of analysis and also using algorithms to understand where are the fish and when do they come and how do we open the door so that they can pass without letting too much water pass. So that's another area which helps us then understand how can we be more efficient and how can we also help the environment. And that was a very nice environmental story as well.
That sounds really great. But where do you see the challenges?
I think that the challenge is that the technology is moving so fast. So keeping up to speed all the time and allowing the experimentation and defining the use cases for us that make sense. We need to be open-minded about that and allow people everywhere in the organization to experiment.
Henriette Wendt, startups, employees, AI, climate change, diversity in a world, as you said, that changes so fast and dramatically. How do you actually keep control over everything? Do you have sort of a secret of success?
So first of all, I don't think I'm really in control. I mean, that's something that is
nobody is, I guess.
For me, the secret is to have a great team. I have a really great team and they know what they're talking about and they know what they need to do. For me, the trust and the empowerment is important because I cannot be in every area and I shouldn't be in every area. I am here to make sure that they do a great job. So I support them and I challenge them. And then together we can do a great job.
So it's all in a nutshell about trust and cooperation.
That's it.
Henriette Wendt, thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you.
Energy Executives is the special edition of Energy Voices, the podcast from Axpo. We look forward to your feedback via email at podcast@axpo.com or on X, formerly Twitter, using the hashtag Energy Voices.